I'd like to tell you a story. Once there was a group of friends who were mourning because a friend of theirs had gotten killed. Now they were in a locked room just crying and weeping, when all of a sudden their dead friend appears in the room with them. He talks to them and then he disappears. Now when they try and tell another friend of theirs named Thomas what happened, he said he would have to see this with his own eyes to believe it. Well, later on, when they were back together again and Thomas was with them, their dead friend appeared again. But it wasn't until Thomas saw that he actually believed. My good people, I have just shared with you the story of doubting Thomas. Now, for those of you who are not familiar with that story, Christians believe that Jesus, the Son of God, appeared to his followers after his death. Only one of the disciples, named Thomas, was not with them. And when they tried to tell Thomas that Jesus had appeared to them, he did not believe it and said he would have to see with his own eyes. Well, he got the chance a few weeks later when Jesus showed up again, went to Thomas and told him to put his fingers in the holes in his hands and his hand in the wound in his side. Again, it wasn't until Thomas saw that he believed. As an African American in these United States, I have dealt with more than my share of doubting Thomases. For example, once when I lived in North Carolina, I stopped at a gas station to pump gas. Now, this was before the advent of pay at the pump. And so what one would do was drive up, fill up their tank, and then go inside to pay. Well, on this particular day, and I remember it very well because I happened to be in a hurry that day, I pulled up to the pump, tried to fill my tank with gas, but the pump didn't work. And I thought, well, that figures. I would pull up to the one pump that doesn't work. And so I pulled forward to the next pump and tried that one, and that didn't work either. Well, by now I'm really annoyed because I'm looking on the other side and I see other cars coming up, pumping their gas, going inside to pay, and driving off. So finally, what I do is I go in and I say to the attendant, I have tried 2 different gas tanks and neither one of the pumps are working. And she said, oh yeah, I saw you. But we've had a lot of people stealing gas, and so I didn't turn the pumps on. And then she tells me that I have to prepay in order to get my gas. So when I tell this incident to a white friend of mine, the first thing that she says is, are you sure that's what happened? Oh, no other pumps were turned off and you were the only black person there? I'm sure that didn't have anything to do with it. Doubting Thomas. Another time, I was putting groceries on the conveyor belt at my local grocery store. Now, I had all of the usual things: vegetables, meat, bread, some high-calorie snacks that I didn't need. When all of a sudden, the cashier says to me, you know you can't get those snacks with food stamps. Now, he hadn't even begun ringing up my groceries, so there was no way that he could have known how I was going to pay. And again, when I told this to a white friend of mine, she said, oh, I'm sure that he said that to everybody. Well, he didn't say it to the white woman in front of me, nor to the one behind me. Doubting Thomas. Now, I could pull quite a few more incidents out of my mental Rolodex. And yes, I know I'm dating myself by talking about a Rolodex, but I'm sure y'all get the point. And in this past year, we have dealt with a global pandemic, a contentious election cycle, and an unprecedented racial reckoning. Now, this reckoning was precipitated by the murder of George Floyd by Officer Derek Chauvin, who knelt with his knee on Floyd's neck for somewhere around 9 minutes while he pleaded for air, and finally George died crying out for his mother. Now, this was not the first time such an incident had happened, and it certainly was not the last. But in this particular instance, this was caught on camera, cell phone camera, by 17-year-old Darnella Frazier and broadcast to the world for all to see. And then all of a sudden, racial discrimination and police brutality became real, captured in living color for the entire world to witness. There was no way to spin it, no possibility of explaining it away. The world saw Derek Chauvin kneel casually with his knee on the neck of George Floyd, with his hand in his pocket, looking for all the world like he was posing for a photograph. He did not have a problem with being filmed because he felt as if he was perfectly within his purview to be doing what he was doing, which was committing murder. And then white people believed. They put their fingers in the holes and their hand in the side of racial injustice and police brutality, and they finally saw what we have been protesting about and dying as a result of. It wasn't until they saw it that they believed it. Now, as I close, I would like to leave you with 3 action steps. 1, recognize that intent doesn't matter. Impact does. Unless one believe that I am merely an angry Black woman, just know that when we experience these things and then we have to defend ourselves, we become re-traumatized. Number 2, do your own work. There are tons of books and films on race and racial discrimination. Read them. It is for that reason that I have become much more resistant when white people want to cast me in the role of black spurt, whereupon I am asked to prove that racial discrimination is indeed a thing. And finally, number 3, when one of us shares an incident of racial harm with you, believe us. Don't talk about intent. Don't say it was a mistake. Just believe us. Please stop being a doubting Thomas. Thank you.